General conference is unlike any gathering you've attended. It's not like normal church where you go just to listen to a pastor. It's not like a party where you go just to hang out with friends. And it's not like a TED conference where Neil Patel gives you the one secret as to why your essential oils MLM isn't number one on Google search. No, General Conference is a semi-annual gathering for members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to listen to modern-day prophets and apostles. And so today, I'm going to be proving to you, Mom, that my master's degree wasn't a waste of money, and we're going to analyze every General Conference talk that has ever been given. Now, before we jump in, I want to give you a little bit of background on why this topic is so important to me and why I wanted to make a video about this. You see, when I was young, I hated General Conference, but now I like it. Now that I've given you some background, let's move on to how we're actually going to get the data. Now, I know what you're thinking.
But Luke, how are we going to compile the data into a format that we can easily analyze?
I'm glad you asked, President Nelson. You see, in data science, if we want to scrape a lot of data, we need to create something called a script. Now, for those of you that don't have a lot of experience with computers, a script is something that actors follow that tells them what to say in a movie or TV show. So what I did was simple. I started with the first General Conference talk on the church's website from 1971. I wrote down every single word from every single General Conference talk. From there, it was simple. All I had to do was take the script that I made and upload it to Microsoft Paint. From there, I just had to edit the text a little bit. Just kidding. All I did was input this code here into an online environment called Google Colab, and boom, we now have ourselves a Python script that scrapes every single General Conference talk. Now, when I first reviewed this data, the only columns that I had were the speaker, the calling, and the content of their talk. So instead, I created another script that scraped data off of YouTube. I pulled in the YouTube data and I got metrics such as likes, comments, and views. So after definitely not uploading both data frames in ChatGPT and definitely not asking it pretty, please just make it work and merge the data for me, bada bing, bada boom, we got ourselves a new data set with 3 new columns. From there, we could create a custom script to calculate a few more columns.
Luke, bro, stop yapping. Nobody cares about all this tedious slop.
And boom, we're ready to analyze. Luckily for all of you, I learned in my master's degree from a very non-accredited college how to methodically analyze data. Here's what we'll be doing. Number 1, given my general knowledge of the church, I will make a hypothesis of something that I think is accurate about General Conference. Number 2, I will analyze this hypothesis and see if it's correct. And number 3, for every hypothesis that is correct, I will give my dog Buster a treat. So let's get started with my first hypothesis. So we've all heard it before. Elder Uchtdorf loves to talk about
flying an airplane.
Flight, flew, glide, flew, flight. Lifted off, aviation, glide.
How frequently does he actually talk about aviation? Well, let's see. My second hypothesis is that C.S. Lewis is the most quoted non-general authority in General Conference history. I can't tell you how many times as a teenager I'd be sitting in Sunday school and my teacher would say something like, "Oh, C.S. Lewis once said that," and then I just stop listening. So do you think that's true? Is C.S. Lewis the most quoted non-general authority?
Young stepping in the ring, wielding words like a lion. C.S. Lewis on the mic, verbal swords I'm supplying.
Womp womp, that was wrong.
In the dark, with ink is my artillery, Narnia on my soul, battling with epiphany.
Before we jump into my third hypothesis, let's do a quick speed round of random stuff that I found out. Here I grouped every General Conference talk by the church president that was currently serving at the time. We're talking about temples more, and covenants. Here's a graph that shows the average sentiment score of all President Nelson's addresses. The red bars mean that he was the church president during the time that he gave the talk. Sentiment score is a natural language processing technique that determines how positive or negative words in a sentence are. So we can say generally that President Nelson's sentiment score has increased as he's become the president of the church. Here are the sentiment scores from the most recent General Conference. This graph shows the average sentiment score of repentance during whatever prophet's ministry. Here's the average reading level of all President Nelson's talks, with the red ones being him being the prophet. Here's the median reading level of all the apostles' talks. Here's the reading level of every General Conference talk from the most recent General Conference. Here's the average proportion of citations for each prophet during their presidency. Here's a snowman that me and my wife built. Now for my third hypothesis, this topic is going to be about LGBTQ issues in the church. I know what you're thinking. Okay, what does this random dude know? And you're probably right. You should probably just click away from this video. No, don't. Now my hypothesis going into this is that growing up in the church, there was a lot more negative sentiment around LGBTQ issues. And that sentiment is now on the rise. Is that true? Let's find out.
Started from the bottom, came from the grind. Every single challenge left.
So what I did here was make a master list and phrases that are related to LGBTQ issues, and then I took 2 sentences before and after those phrases, and then measured the sentiment score of those sentences. While it may appear that sentiment is generally on the rise, these values are so small that pretty much all of these values are around 0, or that means that the sentiment has just been neutral. And a reminder, this data is showing every General Conference talk grouped by the president of the church that was serving at the time. But I'm still technically correct. A little bit of a disclaimer here. This video is by no way implying anything about the teachings of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Its content is strictly my own.
Left it behind, now we're on the up.
Now, my fourth hypothesis is similar, but it's about race. The average sentiment score of words around race is going to go up. Obviously, the last few years, the church has taken a big emphasis on rooting out racism and prejudice. Let's find out if sentiment is trending upwards. So what we did here was take all of the mentions of race-related topics per year, and then we put those underneath the president that was currently serving at the time of the talk. Again, this data is not just the mentions of the church presidents, but it's of all the general conference talks during their presidency. This is to hopefully show a better trend of what the church was teaching at large, rather than just one or two specific speakers. So as we can see, the average mentions of race-related topics is on the rise, especially with President Hinckley, President Monson, and President Nelson. So this is weighted sentiment score, which gives greater weight to more mentions of race-related topics. I had a normal graph for just sentiment score as well, but I don't know where it is, so this will have to do for now. Now, I don't have a fifth hypothesis, but here's some other random things that I found out. Gospel of Jesus Christ references with the 10 most recent general conferences in red. The median sentiment score per prophet during their presidency of just their talks. The median sentiment score distribution among all the apostles of all their talks. The average number of mentions of food storage per year grouped by church president. Average word length of the October 2024 general conference. Proportion of talks mentioning endowment in general conference with the most recent general conferences in red. Remember earlier in the video where I spent 3 minutes explaining how I got YouTube metrics into the dataset? Yeah, it didn't work too well, so here's this at least. The day after me and my wife built a snowman. Now, if you've made it this far in the video, let me just say thank you. At the time of recording this, I actually haven't completed the analysis yet, and so I don't actually know what I'm gonna analyze. And so let me just say, wow, that data, it exists all right, and it was definitely there. Now, I know I'm a small YouTube channel, but I have this exclusive piece of content that I want to share with you guys to close out the video, so I hope you guys enjoy. Stay, okay. Sit, good boy.